Oh yeah, you can kind of see. It's shaded, but there's a drive.
Yeah.
Probably loading for other.
No, but those are,
I'm
with you, that's where unnecessarily frustrating, because all of a sudden there's.
Good evening. I'm calling the Monday, November 18th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda tonight is the approval of the agenda. Do I have any requests for changes? Right. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Right. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Agenda is approved for the evening. Next up, approval of minutes from the meeting held Monday, October 28th, 2019. Do you have any requests for changes or concerns?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner
I
Kirk.
do. On the page 4, in that first main paragraph, the last line says, Kirk commented the design overall, I think it needs to say was good.
Oh, yeah. I missed that.
Page 4. Okay.
Commented the design overall.
Oh, sure. Kirk commended the design overall.
Was good.
Was good.
Was good is missing.
Yeah. Okay. Commented that the design overall was good? Okay. All right. Duly noted. Okay. Any other edits or concerns?
Make it sound right, Julie. Make it sound intelligent.
All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the.
Move to approve the minutes for the Planning Commission dated October 28th, 2019.
Second.
As amended.
As amended.
Okay. I have a motion from Commissioner Kirk.
Second.
Second. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, minutes are passed. All right, moving on. We have one public hearing this evening. It's a Target remodel 2019-19. This is a request for a planned unit development concept review on 10.6 acres, planned unit development district amendment with waivers on 10.6 acres, site plan review on 10.6 acres. Will the proponent of the project please come forward? Good evening. If you would state your name and tell us about your project, please.
Hi, my name is Ryan Hillstead. I work for Kimley Horton Associates, and I'm here on behalf of Target Corporation.
Will you pull the mic up a little closer? Thank you.
Would you like to tell us about your project, please?
I do have a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, great.
On behalf of Target Corporation, we're requesting a planned unit development amendment that includes building material waivers and a site plan review for the Target building located at Eden Prairie Center. As you can see in the map here, there's a shared wall on the east side of the mall. Target's proposing to update signage and facade as a part of a nationwide effort to modernize the Target brand to a more contemporary appearance for all stores. In addition to a site plan review for facade updates, Target is requesting an amendment to the PUD, which includes an update to Exhibit B with the exterior improvements, and to revise the exterior material waiver from 59.52%, which was previously approved for brick and glass, to 58% glass and cast stone and brick. The proposed signage updates meet the city code and PUD standards, and therefore will not require a PUD amendment. These updates include removing the existing red bullseye Target signs and replacing these with white bullseye Target signs and adding a white bullseye to the south elevation. The proposed facade improvements include the addition of red ephes accents to the north, west, and south elevations, the replacement of sconce light fixtures, repainting of painted surfaces. The requested building material waiver is requested to allow for a refresh and a modernization and upgrade the building appearance. The difference in overall building materials between the existing and proposed elevation includes a minor reduction of CMU on the north or front elevation, the west elevation, and a minor reduction of brick on a screen wall on the south rear elevation. In these areas, the existing materials are proposed to be covered in red ephes. This was done in an effort to provide a contrast for the proposed signs. They're going to be white, so we wanted a red background so that those would stand out. And that would give a refreshed look that would be consistent across the nation. As a requirement to amending the PUD targets also addressing parking lot landscaping requirements, the city's adopted new code, as you may be aware, and so we've analyzed that as part of this. Parking lot islands are required to be planted and not just filled with mulch, so Target is proposing to add plantings to these two islands that just have mulch in them currently today. And so this would include shrubs and perennials.
Just a question, did you have a PowerPoint you wanted to walk through at the same time or at the end?
I can just breeze through just the images at the end.
Great, thank you.
And then the parking lot islands, every drive aisles at every 20 spaces. Currently, this is not being met, so an island, we're adding an island to one of the ends of the drive aisles to come in compliance with this. Parking lot islands at the end of drive aisles in every 20 spaces. Some more on this. Today, much of the parking lot is meeting this. If you look at it, and if you look at it as an average, so there's 3 rows where there might be 14 spaces, and then there's 24 something, so it would average out to be about 20. To come into full compliance, that would require us to lose some parking stalls, and so when the mall saw this, with the new Shields project, there's no stalls to give. They're at a 4.5 ratio, which is part of the Eden Prairie Center operating agreement. And so that causes a hardship to meet that code. So we're addressing, the proposed landscape plan addresses all of the parking landscape requirements with the exception of providing parking lot islands every 20 feet, and will add value, function, and aesthetics to the site. So, I know that was a mouthful. We could show that PowerPoint now. Oh, I've got the clicker. So as I mentioned, the site there on Flying Cloud Drive. This is the existing target, and then as you can see, we're changing the signage from the red to the white with that red ephes background, and then on the corner there's some more of that red ephes that's changed from today. The notable thing on here is the south elevation. There wasn't a sign there previously. And then these are the calculations from what is out there today to what's being changed. The notable thing here is the CMU, the amount of CMU in most of these elevations is being reduced, and then the amount of ephes is going up, a class 2 material for a class 2, and then the south elevation is where the biggest change is, where we're putting some red ephes on top of that brick to provide that contrast for the sign. And then this is our exhibit showing where that new island would be. It is kind of hard to, let's see, does this have a laser pointer? There we go. Kind of disappears there on the screen. But if you look at the northwest corner of the building, just north of that is where that proposed island would be. Today it's just striping over blacktop, and so we would be adding a sidewalk there to add that island and provide pedestrian connectivity and keep that. So if there's any questions, let me know.
Commissioner DeSanctis.
I have several questions. Is the proposed facade comparable to what has been done at the Super Target on Rockford Road in Plymouth?
I'm not familiar with that store.
Okay. Couple things. With the sconce lighting, was consideration given to solar source of lighting?
I don't believe it was, as today I believe it's powered by electric, and so it would be kind of a like product for a like product there.
Any reason why solar wasn't considered?
I'm not sure. I think it would be hard with the shadows of the building in that location, for one thing, to, usually when we do solar, they're more of in the middle of a parking, in a more open area, and so you're right next to a building facade, so it may be difficult for light to get to that. It's not typical for building lighting to be lit with using solar, in my experience.
These improvements that you're proposing, will they in any way change the R value or the insulation value of the building itself?
No.
So it's cosmetic,
Correct.
in essence?
Correct.
Okay. I have another question for you, is in regard to the shrubs that you want to plant in the islands and the parking area.
Yeah.
Can you specify what type of drought-tolerant shrubs or native species that you might use in that area?
Yeah, they're on the plan. Dwarf bush honeysuckle is a very drought-tolerant native type shrub. Same with the grow low fragrant sumac. All of these plants are very hardy, and they would require less irrigation than I would say is typical of something like sod, which would require something. So this is I would say a best practice type plants.
I would agree, it's a smart choice, because when
Yeah.
you have that large surface area of asphalt and with a southwesterly wind, it could get quite hot and desiccate those plants very rapidly.
Yeah. This would have, we would propose that this would have irrigation, and that would be drip irrigation, and that'd be the most, I would say, efficient type of irrigation that uses the least water.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Middy.
The red EFIS that's going to be installed, it looks like it'll be installed on existing EFIS, brick, and CMU in different areas. On all three of those areas, this is just being placed on top of the existing facade that's underneath it?
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Farr?
Mr. Chairman, the south elevation where you're adding the new sign, it's right above a tiered landscape wall feature.
Correct.
A couple questions. First of all, one of the first sentences you said when you stepped up to the podium, did you identify that as a shared wall, or did I misunderstand you?
No. That's what the mall, that's the shared wall I was talking about. So the Target is actually connected to the mall?
Yes.
So that's the shared wall I was referring to, the shared wall with the mall interior.
Okay. All right. Not Sheridan property on that south side. It's a
Correct. On
screen
the
wall to
east
the loading
side.
dock. Okay. Got it. So on your landscape plan, you're calling for some relocation of landscaping that I'm only assuming that you think will grow that tall someday to eventually screen the sign. Is
That's
that what
correct.
your concern is? Because they're just 3 foot tall.
Yeah,
Starters right
they're
now.
very short today, but then
Yeah.
they'll grow to be quite tall.
Okay.
It'd be a full-size evergreen tree.
Yeah.
And so I thought it made sense to move those ahead
Catch
of
them when
time.
they're young.
Catch them while they're young. They'll do better move while they're young. And
Okay.
we're not proposing to remove any plants, just relocate them
All
so
right.
they're not blocking that sign.
Very good. I don't think it would be unreasonable for us to ask us to replace them with something that wouldn't grow that tall in the future, so that you don't just leave a void in the landscape area where you're plucking those 4 trees from now. Could you provide some shrubbery in its place, or some low-growing planting there instead?
I would say there are shrubs underneath those trees today. There are low plants underneath them. And,
Okay.
And so they're kind of planted between the shrubs.
Okay.
So that was the thought there.
Okay, I'm just looking for the rhythm of the landscape that is along that entire
sure.
retaining wall to be maintained, so that
Right.
it doesn't look like some trees died and
Yep.
you didn't replant them.
Okay.
You understand?
Yep, understood.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. Julie, will you be doing the planner's report?
Yes, sir. As stated, the applicant is requesting a PUD concept review, PUD district amendment with waivers, and a site plan review in order to update the facade of the existing Target at Eden Prairie Center. As a part of that improvement project, as stated, the applicant intends to make some facade improvements in order to provide consistency with Target's new branding that is taking off nationwide. We've probably seen it at a few other Target stores as you're driving around the metro area. So as a part of that, they'll be making those facade improvements as well as some improvements to the parking lot, because as you know, through the design guidelines process, the city updated some standards with regard to parking lot design since the applicant was in last in the year 2000 when they went through a PUD at that point. So in 2000, when they went through the PUD process, a waiver was granted to allow the building to have 59% of the materials be Class 1. With the proposed revisions as a part of this project, that Class 1 material decreases from 59% to 58%. So roughly about the same, but it is a change, so we need to note that through the PUD process. In addition, they'll be making some of those changes that the applicant spoke to with regard to the parking lot improvements, specifically adding landscaping into parking islands, improving pedestrian connection at the front of the store as the sidewalk connects to the ring road that circles around the mall. And as he noted, there was conversations with Target about adding in some parking islands in order to come closer to compliance with the parking island every 20 spaces ratio. And Target was proceeding down that route, and as a part of conversations with mall ownership, the issue of parking stalls and required parking stalls for the mall overall with regard to all of their tenants came up. So as a part of that, they would have lost, I believe it was 5 parking stalls. And because as you're well aware, through the Shields project, the mall overall exactly meets the 4.5 per 1,000 square feet requirement that is required through the city's PUD and as a part of the private agreement that the mall has with all of its tenants. So at this point, they're not proposing to add in any additional parking islands. That is something staff would expect when the next big Shields-like development occurs at the mall, that we would have those conversations about bringing that parking lot closer into compliance with the overall design guidelines. In addition, there is some changes proposed to the signage. As you saw in your staff report, signage is proposed to be located on the south-facing wall where there currently is not any signage. The signage that is proposed does comply with the overall size requirements required by code and actually decreases in size. So that is, those measurements and calculations are included in the staff report for your reference. Staff is recommending approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Julie. Questions for Julie? Commissioner Meddy.
It's not so much a question, but just sort of a comment to throw out there, is when I was looking at this, the thought kind of occurred to me, and I didn't look this up in the code, but what constitutes a sign? What constitutes the definition of the sign area, and whether or not this entire red ephes is itself part of the sign. I'm not going to go as far as to say that's the case here, but it was just something that kind of occurred to me because I know, let's take a smaller example. At what point does that background become the facade or become this part of the sign? So just wanted to point that out. I don't have an issue with this, but it's something to kind of think about.
Julie?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if I can address that. So some communities do provide that level of definition in their ordinance. The city of Eden Prairie talks about any visual, graphic text area that communicates or identifies or advertises. In a nutshell, that's it. I know I don't have it word for word, but that's kind of the gist of it. Okay. In some communities, they would calculate the red to be part of the overall sign. In Eden Prairie, that's not how signage has been interpreted. Particularly, to take the case if there wasn't that, I can't remember if it's the bullseye. I think it's the bullseye on that side of the building. If that bullseye wasn't there and it was just red, you could use red ephes as a part of any architectural design on a part of that building, whether it was a Target or whether it was, some other retailer that was located in there. But in our instance, what triggers the sign is inclusion of the word Target or the bullseye, something of that sort.
Yeah, based off that definition, it sounds like, that red ephes would not, in our case, count as signage. Thank you.
Commissioner Farr?
Yep. Question, they're recolorizing part of the facade, the entrance framing. There's some red and green or blue framing on the entrance doors right now as you walk in. And it's proposed to be toned down to like a champagne bronze color. Ordinarily, we would see something like a paint applied to and over aluminum framing for abrasion resistance and things like that. They're proposing a 3M film. I don't think we're familiar with that product, but if that's abrasion resistant and a durable material to go over aluminum framing on such a high impact entry door system, I'm okay with that, but I just don't want it, a year or two, that thing to be peeling off. Perhaps there could be some technical information given to the building inspector that would prove out its good intention for the purpose, for durability and abrasion resistance.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, staff can certainly reach out to the building official and building inspection staff to further that conversation.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward and speak for or against this project, please do so now. All right. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, move to close the public hearing.
I have a motion to close from Commissioner Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second for Commissioner Farr. All in favor of closing public hearing, say aye.
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 Opposed? Right. Public hearing is closed. Further discussion about this request?
I think that it'll look a little bit nicer, a little bit more modern and updated than it is today, so.
I agree. I think it's a reasonable periodic update that is very close to the original PUD. And the improvements in the parking are good.
I also think it acts like a shoehorn because you have the Shields development on the south end, and then you have this exterior facade remake on the east and north end, or in the north end. So it kind of brackets the mall with newness.
Which is a help
Yes,
after all this time.
absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to recommend approval for the planned unit development concept review on 10.6 acres, plan unit development amendment with waivers on 10.6 acres, and site plan review on 10.6 acres based on plan stamp dated November 7th, 2019, and the staff report dated November 12th, 2019.
I have a motion for Commissioner Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Commissioner Higgins. All those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Would anyone like to abstain? All right. Project's approved. Thank you. Good luck. All right, moving on this evening, do we have any planners' reports?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I just wanted to remind you that this is your only meeting for the month of November, so your next scheduled meeting is December 9th.
Thank you. Any members' reports? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Would anyone like to abstain?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.
Suppose it's theoretically possible.